Gamers of Reddit, what are some underrated games do you think more people should play? Screen Cheat. It's a split-screen multiplayer game that you play online. Every character is invisible, and the only way you can kill each other is by looking at each other's perspective, hence Screen Cheat. Also some really funny additions into the game, for example a mode where every sound is replaced with an Australian going bugger. Cheap and hilarious. This really is a great game with friends. Awesome, I'll try it once I get some of those. A DLC is coming soon, should be around the new Elder Scrolls game, so sometime in 2033. The future's good. The future's bright. The future's filled with love and light. Alas, there is one small dismay, it's really ducking far away. For me it's got to be an old Xbox game called Metal Arms. It's a bit old now but it's the shit. They were going to do a sequel but the company was bought out or bust or something. Loved that game on GameCube, so much fun in split screen. One of the first games I played with my son when he was around 7 or 8. Good memories. Custom Robo on the GameCube. I really wish Nintendo would make a new Custom Robo for the Switch. Custom Robo feels like the perfect game for online play but it released when that wasn't really a thing. Custom Robo and F-Zero could both use a revival. My Summer Car. It's like a car driving simulator that takes place in 90s Finland. You build your car, in the meanwhile you do dumb shit driving around and interacting with all the drunk men in the map. You can get drunk too, kinda a trashy game but still fun. Remy Summer Car. The game is amazing simply because of how absurd it is. Want to drink and drive? Don't bother to install the passenger seat, just put the beer there instead. Leave off the windshield to chuck bottles out the car. Drive a tractor to town to buy frozen pizza. Pee on a moose. Scream PERKELE at people while you pump sewage. Race people on a moped. Get hit by a train. Enjoy a sauna. It's an experience. Leave off the windshield to chuck bottles out the car. You shouldn't do this anymore. The creator added a feature pretty recently where if you drive without a windshield, a bee might hit you in the face. You are allergic to bees so your vision goes dark and you die. Simple, just wear the motorcycle helmet then. Wait, but then that means you can't drink. Duck. They worked out everything frown. Kenshi. It's kind of a ducked up dystopian game that takes place in some barren hellhole. Not your typical AAA titles. More PC and independent. Lower budget. But as a gaming experience, I think it captures the very essence of what an organic gaming experience to be. The game itself is kind of this fucked up scenario and places you in the middle of it. Rise or fall, it almost feels like it's up to fate. But the cool thing is that your player gets stronger with repetition. So as long as you're alive, you've got a shot. Even if you're a bleeding, limbless, and crawling great distances starving. A scenario all too common in Kenshi. Kenshi is awesome, especially considering it was mostly done by a single dude over the course of 12 years, he is working on Kenshi 2 BTW. You'll like the game if you don't like being held by the hand in games. It's an extremely rewarding role-playing game that lets you basically do everything with all the consequences involved. You might end up enslaved. Or it's a survivalist colony managing game that reminded me of RimWorld at times. The only thing I found limiting is the replayability. I mean the map is huge and it will take you a long time until you have explored everything, but when you have the game is basically over. To add on to games that don't hold your hand. If you play Ozzers or like games like that, then this game is for you. Lots to discover and figure out just like the first time you got out of Tutorial Island. Lots of skills, grinding, PVM, crafting equipment, and lots of economy type things that happen. I always loved how RuneScape had like 20 plus skills and Kenshi is no different. Split Second. A very good racing game with the added element of trying to destroy the other drivers with explosions. PS, you wrecked yourself. Came here to post this. That game is amazing, my favorite racing game ever. Oh, you are leading the race? It would be a shame if it collapsed a ducking dam on your ass. You can find it on the Xbox Game Pass. Shame the studios which made it ended up being shut down. Mercenaries, Playground of Destruction. It was GTA in North Korea. You could hijack anything and destroy any building and call in airstrikes. Truly ahead of its time. Never could beat the final mission, though. Regardless, amazing. I never played the first one, but I did play World in Flames, and I thought it was still to this day some of the most fun I've ever had. Too bad we never saw a third game come out. I played both, and I honestly think the first one is better. The graphics aren't as good as World in Flames, but I think World in Flames was just too easy. Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay was expecting the typical steaming turd from a movie-based game. Turned out to be surprisingly really good, 90% on Metacritic. It's because Vin Diesel doesn't duck around. He founded a game studio so he could be part of the production and not just providing a voice. He loves that franchise and he's a fan of gaming. He wasn't about to let the first Riddick game be some shovelware bullshit. The franchise is his franchise. He wrote and endeavored tirelessly to crowdfunding for the first movie. When he achieved that, he used the profits from the first to fund his studio, making the video game, which helped stoke continued interest, which paved the way for more movies with higher budgets. The man is truly committed to the Riddick IP edit. A couple buttholes pointed out he didn't actually write it, which wasn't the point. Here's a detailing of some of the sacrifices Vin Diesel has made to ensure the fruition of the project he is so damn passionate about, HollywoodReporter.com. He got the rights to the franchise with his sub-30 seconds cameo in Tokyo Drift, if I recall. Tokyo Drift was going to be about Paul Walker's character going to Japan, but the studio felt he was too old, so they changed it to a random high school kid who was supposed to be getting bullied relentlessly until a badass American shows up to train him in the art of racing to take on the crazy Asian drifters. Turns out Diesel wasn't interested in that and the studio had to rethink it. The story I read was the same as your first half. Paul was too old, etc., but after they made the movie, initial response to test audiences was it needed Paul or Vin in it to make it more Fast and the Furious. So they tacked on the end scene including Vin, and he did it without cash payment in exchange for rights to the Riddick movie. West of Loathing. Looks at medical tent, that's where they do math, lost it. I'd say it's a big plus. Ghost Trick Edit. Jesus Christ, didn't expect this to generate such intense reactions. GJ guys. If you want a good overview of this game, watch Matthew Matos's video about it in YouTube, he's the one that got me into it. If Ghost Trick was re-released on Steam, I'd be gifting it to strangers weekly. That game is a ducking masterpiece. Never heard of this. What's a brief overview? You're the lingering soul of a recently deceased individual and have the power to manipulate everyday objects and rewind time to 4 minutes before a person's imminent death. The goal of the game is to figure out how to change the environment around you to save certain people in danger. All the while slowly discovering who you once were, having lost most of your memories after death. Champions of Norath on PS2. Been waiting for a remake forever. Loved it more than Baldur's Gate, Deadly Alliance. My wife and I must have played that game and its sequel for 100 hours. Edit. Also, no love for Armor Core series either. Damn lol, when I wasn't killing vampires in a black pit in Champions, I would destroy mechs in a parking garage tongue. Star Sage Tribes. Came out in either 1998 or 1999, but was one of the first games that used projectiles in mid-air combat. The base game itself was pretty awesome, but what made it incredible was the extensive modding community. Full-fledged RPGs with unique textures, maps and NPCs. The game is pretty much dead now, but it still has a few active people and servers. Might be more nostalgia, but what an incredible game and player base. #X200B edit. If you want to check out an updated version of Tribes, look at www.reddit.com or Midair or T1 itself at www.plate1.com. Looks like it's still pretty active. You haven't captured the flag until you've captured the flag at Mach 1 through a window. I think Dragon's Dogma should have been a bit more mainstream just so a sequel would be guaranteed. Pyre by Supergiant Games. It's probably their least played title, but it is not only my favorite but might be one of my favorite games ever. The art direction and character design are world class. The story is unique and inventive, not to mention the game doesn't end if you lose, but the story changes, and the gameplay is weird but fun. But the best thing about it is the music. The music is the best I've ever heard in a video game, as every character gets their own themes, and the game ends with a song that is personalized to what you did in the game. I cannot recommend it enough. It is a truly beautiful artistic experience. I just want to save everybody, okay? Seriously, though, the music is genius. When your team plays a different team, the theme songs of both teams play simultaneously and become more or less prominent based on who is winning. It blows my mind how anyone could score something like that. Darren Korb is an incredibly talented composer. Not to downplay the quality of the total experience, but, emo, the soundtracks are easily the best part of every Supergiant Games game. I haven't even gotten around to buying and playing Pyre yet, but I already agree on the score. The Transistor OST is just superb. I genuinely love it as an album, not just a soundtrack.